Hi, Deeksha, you can hear me?
Hello, is it working?
Oh, yes. Finally.
Finally. I'm so sorry, I was trying with so many different Wi-Fis and also my 4G connection. So
No problem. I think we will have to do the entire session in rapid fire so that the Wi-Fi doesn't go away.
let's hope it does not, but you never know.
Never mind. Okay, let's start off then. So, hello everyone. I hope everyone puts their questions back in the question section. There's a tiny little icon on the bottom right. Please do ask your questions there. Meanwhile, I have some questions before you, so I'm going to ask them, and then we'll move on to yours. Okay. So, Disha, why don't we begin with an introduction? From you.
Sure. So I am the founder of One Stop Data, which is a data community that I have with over 150,000 people across social media platforms. I am also an educator. I teach people. I love teaching. So I have taught over thousands of people across the world. And I'm also a working professional. So I work for a company called Ion. So we are into selling financial softwares to investment banks, corporations, and I work as a data analytics manager over there.
So, when do you sleep? If you do so many things.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, now the thing, it's all about women and, your community is all about women. I have to say, I also have my own community, which is Women in Data. So I lead the
Okay.
Delhi idea of, promoting women to get into data. So, so that's also there.
Very nice. Very nice. That's great. So then I guess, a lot of our questions as girls buzz, we are always talking about what women can do and what can do better. So I'm sure you'll have great answers to the questions that I have for you today. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So to begin with, we want to know how did Deeksha become Deeksha, the data analyst at One Stop Data?
So this is actually an interesting story, and I think some of is my voice fine? I don't know.
I can hear you fine. I don't know why people are saying this, but I can hear you fine. It's a little low, but I can hear you. There's no problem.
I can speak fast. I don't know. Is it better?
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe
Cool.
when the session is recorded, you can revisit her session. Yeah, later on.
Sure. So there's so many
Yeah.
comments coming in, but I'll ignore all of them and continue for now. But yeah. So see, I am also someone who transitioned into data analytics. I was never into this field at all. So I started my career as a project management analyst to begin with. So I did that. So first I self transitioned into data analytics. Then I started teaching people in my data or anything ever existed. I had a long experience of actually
Okay.
teaching people in my own company. So I started doing that over there. I liked it. This was something I really found interesting. And that is when I moved to Women in Data, like I mentioned. So I started my community there. And doing all of this, I realized that, no, I should do something that is more wider, that has it's not limited to any one audience of, my own company or just women in data for that matter. Let's do something for everyone, irrespective of, their background, age, where they come from, where they are, irrespective of their educational background. And that is when One Stop Data came in. So it's been about 8 months, I think. I started in February,
Really?
and yeah. I am new.
Wow.
One Stop Data is
Wow,
recent, so yeah.
that's an amazing growth. I didn't know it was just 8 months. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, One Stop Data is 8 months, but when I
Yeah.
came in, it was a lot more experience that I came along. I think something that worked was that I had done all of this. So I had kind of tested the waters. I knew what worked, I knew what didn't work, and then I came in this field. So.
Okay, so I'm sure you must have come across this comment, like when you say that, okay, I'm a data analyst or I'm a developer. As a woman, when you say it, people are like, "Arey wow, how can you be a woman and still have so much brains to do it, right?" So did you have such an experience? What have you been through when you made this transition?
Yeah, Yeah, so interestingly, I am an engineer by background, and so I went to an all-girls engineering
Nice.
college. So that was a very new thing, right? Like going into a college that is all
Hmm.
girls, and that is for engineering. So luckily, in my college life, that never happened because I never had, like my every people I was surrounded with were actually women. So हम अपने बारे में थोड़ी
Hmm.
बोलेंगे. So that never
हाँ.
happened in college, but
हाँ.
obviously when I came into work and I started working, I still remember one instance, like, I was just talking to someone about women in data, and this is what I do, and this is even the community that I have where I'm kind of promoting women in data.
Hmm.
And I still remember that gentleman, and he was very well educated at a very good post, and he's like, what are women doing in data? Like, it came as a question mark as to have said something beyond his imagination or something. So that was like one single incident that really stayed with me. कि मैंने कहा कि ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं कर रहे हम, so yeah, I think that, I mean, so honestly, but I have been lucky throughout. Like, I've not faced a lot of judgment because of my background and because whatever I did was very different. But yeah, this was like one incident that मैंने भी कहा कि अच्छा we still have people who think like that.
Yeah, I mean, see, most of the times people say that tech is not for women. Women are simply not wired that way. So, how do you think one can answer this question? Because it kind of already inhibits someone from agreeing to the fact that this woman can actually do data analysis. And how does one overcome this hurdle?
See, I think personally, the first thing that one has to do is self-acceptance, right? You really have to believe what you're doing, and you have to believe that you're good at it. बहुत बार क्या होता है that we as people are just like undermining ourselves so many times कि नहीं नहीं हमसे कैसे होगा, नहीं
Agree.
नहीं हम
Yeah.
कैसे करेंगे, नहीं नहीं this is not for us. So the first hurdle to cross is only कि no, this is what you can do, and this is I am capable of it, and I'm able to do it. Once that is clear, once that acceptance comes in of this is who I am, and this is what I am, and this is what I'll do. Uske baad, I think mostly it doesn't even matter what others are saying, right? एक point मतलब when you are so strong headed in your mind कि हाँ ठीक है, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'll do, right? Then it doesn't matter कि लोग क्या
Hmm.
बोलेंगे, लोग क्या कहेंगे, but you have to be very sure about that in the beginning. कि if yes,
Yeah.
and also it comes from the fact that you're really interested in it, right? Like irrespective of men, women, anyone, I would say don't get into something if you're not interested in it. लेकिन अगर आप घुस गए हो
Hmm.
and if you're interested, then ठीक है, फिर let people say whatever. You be confident about
Yeah.
what you can do and
Obviously.
what you
Yeah.
can do.
Hmm. Nice. So, when we think about data analysis, the first thing that comes to mind is that you have to be from a tech background. In fact, there are some of people over here who are saying, I'm a civil engineer and I'm, into retail sales and all that. Can I get into data analysis? So, I mean, I for a fact know that, it's not only data analysis, you can get into any tech that you want to, because I've done it myself. But from you, what is it that you, being a bachelor's in business administration, you moved away from that and you got into data analysis? So how
No, no,
can you answer this
I'm from
question,
BTech
that do you
myself. I
need
am
to
from
be a
BTech.
tech to be?
Sorry. No, I am from
Oh,
BTech,
is it?
but I started my journey in project management. Yes. So even that's an interesting story
Oh, okay,
actually.
okay. I'm
So I
sorry
was,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, no. So I was not interested in coding, right? Like it didn't come to me. Like fine, I was in tech, but
Hmm.
I was not
Yeah.
interested in coding, and that is how I started with project management. So I'm as non-tech as any other person can be, because I was not. I mean, I was not from that typical engineering
Yeah.
background, despite being a
Right.
computer science engineer. So see,
Right.
obviously it's not true. I mean, I am a very good example. If you just leave my degree aside, I have nothing to say that, okay, I am from a tech background, and that degree does not mean a lot to me because I'm
Yeah.
not really using it. So, but what I'll say is that yes, as you mentioned, anyone, irrespective, can get into data analytics. The only thing that you have to figure out is what do you want to do in data, right? Like there's so many things
Hmm.
you can actually do. You can become a data scientist, you can become a data engineer, you can become a data analyst, you can become a data visualization specialist. So there's so many
Right.
things you can do, and there's so many things that you can do as a non-tech person versus something you would have to do as a tech person. So
Right.
just basic things like data visualization or business intelligence or a few upcoming fields. you can definitely get into tech. I mean, I have done it, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter how you're coming from, where you're coming. Again, the only thing that matters is how much patience you have, how much practice you're doing, and how persistent you are in getting to your goal. I think the three P's that I just inserted. But
Just
yeah,
made
I
up.
think that's what matters.
Okay, so do you think there are some specific benefits that women can have being in data analysis? What are the general benefits as well being in data analysis, and what is it that women can specially, kind of enjoy when they are when they get into this field?
Sure. So I think to begin with, talking about some general benefits, I think this is a great field to be in. The data that we collect has been increasing exponentially. And, right now,
Yeah,
the demand for data jobs is way higher than the supply. I mean, this is something I always say.
definitely.
So there's a big gap
Yeah,
that people can come in and fill, right? They can come into data analytics. It's a great career to be in. There's a great scope, you can, because every department data to har jagah hai na, you can never get rid of data. और जितना हम digital
yeah,
transformation पे बढ़ रहे हैं, the more we are moving on automation of things, the more data is increasing. Whether you're from talent acquisition, whether you're from HR, whether you're from marketing, whether you're from sales, whether you're from any field for that matter, data to hoga hi. So अब data hoga, so you'll need
yeah,
people who are analyzing it, you'll need people who are working with it. So the growth,
yeah,
the scope is amazing. The salaries are also great for people who are really looking for it. So I think it's great. I think specifically for women, and
yeah,
especially for those women who, let's say, cannot really go to office every day because they want to work from home. They cannot give full time to a job because they do have a family. I get a lot of such people as well. So I think for them, a great thing is that data analytics can also be taken up as a freelancing option. Like, I mean, obviously this is also for everyone, but
yeah,
especially for women,
yeah,
you can take up freelancing. You can work from project to project. Data is a field
yeah,
that will I mean, you'll always have one project. You'll finish that project and then you'll move on to the next project. So data analytics at least is like that, right? So I think it's a great way. You take
yeah,
up freelancing work, few hours every day. You're getting paid also, but at the same time, you have ample amount of time to give to your family as well. So I think that way,
yes, yes.
freelancing in data analytics is really great. I mean, I've heard people earning in lakhs
Lucrative.
per month just by freelancing. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's amazing. So I think that's
Yeah.
something that women can definitely do, and I think everyone, but yes, especially for women, and especially for women
Yeah,
who cannot go to work right every day. So
yeah, yeah. True. So, yeah, so coming to becoming a data analyst, okay, we've already answered the question that you don't need to be in tech to be a data analyst. You can actually start off, your career. So, once you start off, what are the three most important interview questions that any data analyst should know how to answer?
interview questions. I think the first interview question has to be, why do you want to become a data analyst? It's so funny, but so many times, I've spoken to a lot of people, and people come to me, and when I ask them, okay, why do you want to become a data analyst? And they're like, okay, there's more money. Okay, or there's I don't want to do what I'm doing right now, so now I want to do data analytics. So I think that's the most underrated and the most important question. You really have to know that, okay, these are my skills, this is who I am as a person, and that is why I want to get into data analytics. I think people really forget that. Apart from that, rather than getting into two and three, but one very, very important thing in interviews for data analytics has to be knowing really well about the projects you're doing, like hands-on experience. Prepare for your projects very, very well. First, do projects, but second, really plan for those projects very, very well on how you're about to, how will you speak about them. So it has to be two things, like second and third question, like you said. So one would be when you
Hmm.
were doing a project, right? Okay, this is need to have a very thorough knowledge. It shouldn't look like you've just learned something from the internet. It should be yours. It should be unique. And the second would be,
Yeah.
a third would be, you really need to know what did you do, right? Rather than people really spend a lot of time mugging up the tools, learning a lot about the technical things, like, okay, like a technical rapid fire or the technical test. If people only focus on that, that you really need to do what you did. You need to know how did it impact the business, what is the outcome of the projects that you did, and how will you do the same thing
Yeah.
in the future, right? And people are asking me to look in the chat. Sorry, guys, I'll
Hmm.
come to the chat later on once the answers are over.
Yeah. So, yeah. So what I want to say is that if you want to ask questions, it's better if you ask in the question section, because there is so much going on in the chat. It is going to be impossible for us to, kind of go back to that. So please make sure if you have a question, it should go in the question section. Yeah. So I'm going to read the questions out from there in just a little bit of time. Yeah. Out of the large questions, this is probably the last one, which I'm going to kind of put in two ways. One is, how can one begin a career in data analysis? And two, what are the options that women who are not financially independent, like, of course, they don't have too much to spend on learning data analysis. So what are the options that those people have? So both either normal ones or things that are probably free to learn or something like that. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So let's talk about how to get started, and then I'll come on to resources, right? Like free
Right.
and cheap resources, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so how to get started? So the first thing that you have to do is to learn Excel. I think people undermine the importance of Microsoft Excel a lot. Please don't do that. Please learn Excel. It is very important. Even if you're not using it in your job or whatever you're doing, you will come down to fundamentals one day or the other. So do learn Microsoft Excel. Follow it up with, so I have a couple of tools that or skills that I always recommend people to learn. That's
Hmm.
something you all can consider. So either, I mean, learn one of the data visualization tools. I think that's very important. So either learn Power BI or learn Tableau. Um,
Okay.
Both of them are very, very important. They're used a lot, and I mean, there are many available. There's Altrix, there's Quick Views. I don't know. There are a lot of them available, but stick to either of the two, Power BI or Tableau. I think that
Okay.
also learn only one. Like, don't people come to me and they say they've learned both, but I don't
Yeah.
think you need to learn both. You can always transfer skills of data visualization if needed,
Yes.
but focus
Yeah.
on one at that point. And then learn SQL. Yes, SQL, SQL, however you pronounce it, it is very important. Learn SQL, learn the basics. I think it will help a lot. And finally,
Right.
learn either Python or R. So either one of them.
Hmm.
Again,
Okay.
both do
Hmm.
mostly the same thing. Just choose what works for you, and you can learn that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you don't have to learn all of these skills together. You don't even have to, let's say spend 1 month and be like, okay, I'm learning everything. Learn one or two things at one point of time and then focus a lot on projects. Like, for
Hmm.
example, I learned MS Excel basic, just enough for you to understand, okay, how does tabular form or tables work, pivot, how does VLOOKUP, or, the basic
We
ones.
look up
Just learn
and
basic.
yeah, I mean, if
Yeah, I
and
mean,
ifs and
see, I think eventually it's all about understanding how the tool works. Once you do that, uske baad to yaar Google pada hai, please go ahead and Google. Even if you don't know anything, just Google how to do this, and you'll get the
yeah,
answer and you'll know how to do it. So learn enough for you to have enough confidence in you कि आप Google करके answer निकाल
yeah.
दोगे. I mean, that
Actually,
is like
most
my simplest
interesting
answer.
in Google is when you ask that if I want to do this in Excel sheet, compare one column and then do it with the other column and try to do something to the third column. So those answers are most interesting, and that's where you learn the
Mhm.
complicated stuff.
Exactly. I mean, I think Googling is the most underrated skill even today. Like, I remember when I had started my career, मैं तो ऐसे ही सीखती थी, I knew
Huh.
a little bit here and there, and I
Exactly.
used to go Google to how to do this, and I used to come back and
Yeah.
just, apply. And you just learn by doing this to and fro only. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
works
Of
very
course.
well. So, anyway, I was saying that whenever you're working on skills, just make sure that you are not doing everything together. Okay, let's say,
Yeah.
for example, I picked up Excel and Power BI because both of them are Microsoft, very similar. आपने ये pick up कर लिया. Then you
Hmm.
move on to projects because
Hmm.
projects are very important. Hands-on learning is very important. There is
Correct.
no, I mean, at least I don't believe in any theoretical knowledge as such.
Hmm.
Everything is about कि आप उसको apply कैसे कर रहे हो. How are you applying it on different data sets? How are you applying it on different projects that you are making? So work a lot on projects. You can easily get projects. आप YouTube कर लो, guided projects on Excel, on Power BI, on Tableau, you'll get it. Up, just go on Kaggle, you'll get a lot of data sets. बहुत easy है, it's very easy. I've made a lot of reels on this
Correct.
as
Yeah.
well.
I
बहुत
agree. Huh.
easily मिल जाएगा. but focus a lot on projects. मतलब let's say, I simply put it कि मान लो you have 5 hours, in a week, and you only can give 5 hours to study. आप उसमें से 1 to 2 hours spend on learning the skill, and the rest 3 hours or 4 hours should always be practicing. So your ratios should be such that you're focusing a lot more on hands-on. I think that has to be there. So as I said, right, like start bucketing. Let's say if you're from a non-tech background, don't go to Python and R. ठीक है, मत जाओ अभी. Just stop at SQL and उसके बाद start finding jobs. You can easily find jobs in data visualization, business intelligence, like I mentioned, reporting analyst. ये सारे jobs आपको मिल जाएंगे. If you are from a tech background, you're confident, ठीक है, then you can easily go to Python R and you can learn them and फिर उसमें आप कर सकते हो. But again, see how much can you do, right? See what is your, like, for example, coding never worked for me initially, right? So even when later on I started doing coding, it was knowing the fact that I don't like it, so I have to make sure that I'm limiting it as much as I can, right? Obviously when you get into teaching and everything, then it becomes a little different, but as a person who was doing it on my own, I just made sure that I don't get a lot into it. So that's there. Once you're done with it, uske baad to, it's all about making sure that you are displaying your projects well. So whether आप resume में ढंग से लिख रहे हो, you're making sure you're putting it out on LinkedIn, जहाँ पे भी, wherever you think it makes sense, and then you can finally get into applying for jobs as well. The only thing that I say is don't focus a lot on certifications. कि मुझे ये वाली certificate भी करना है, मुझे, there are hundreds available in the market. Don't focus a lot on that. अगर बहुत time है, then spend it again on doing projects. But getting certifications on your resume will not help exactly. I mean, it may be an add-on later on कि अच्छा ठीक है इसने करा है, but ये नहीं होगा that okay, you've done a Google certification, okay, now I'll select you for the job. That will not happen. So yeah, that would be like my suggestion. Talking about resources, right? कि कहाँ से करना है. See, there are many free resources available and cheap resources available. If you just go on my Instagram page guide section, you'll find free resources on all the tools that I just mentioned. I've kind of got all free resources available. But just to simply say, just go on YouTube, up type karo, you'll get the top YouTubers. Alex the Analyst is good. Tableau Tim is good. Guy in a Cube, they're really good. So there are many. If you really want specific ones, go to, you'll get on my guide section, because that's what I also believe in. I don't believe a lot in spending thousands and lakhs of money and kind of then doing a course. No, that's why even when I do courses or I teach, I make sure my prices are also very, very low, because it's उससे कुछ मतलब सिखाना तो उतना ही है, and
it's all about teaching more than anything else.
Exactly. And also apart from that, Udemy पे you have free and cheap courses. Coursera पे आपको free मिल जाएंगे. All the leading platforms have free courses.
In fact, Coursera, you can even audit the courses, so you actually can do them without the certificate. So that also is there.
And you do it for free. You don't have to pay for them.
So, you can just audit the course. Cool. So next we have a rapid fire round. So let's make it rapid, because we have about 41 questions to answer. Okay. So first, 3 beginner mistakes.
The first would be to focus. People focus a lot more on skills, learning the skills than the projects. That is number one. Not focusing too much on domain knowledge. I think people forget that eventually we are focusing हमें business problems ही solve करनी है with data analysis. So focus a lot more on learning about that. And third would be not finding mentors and not networking enough. I think data analytics is still a very new field. It's very recent, and jitna aap, you kind of engage with people, you get in touch with people, you learn from them, utna it helps. The more you
don't try to go alone.
Exactly. I think वो बहुत होता है, but network a lot. It's still very new, so do that.
Okay, 3 things you like about being a data analyst.
So the first thing has to be कि you never work on one thing all the time. Like it will अभी 2-3 महीने you're working on one thing, then you'll work on the other thing, because projects will end. आपने बना दिया, सब कुछ खत्म हो गया, you're moving on to the next. So first is you don't get bored. You always are doing something. Second is you're actually impacting business in a very big way, right? Because you are helping business make decisions. I think that is a very big thing. So you learn a lot about that as well. So your overview. Like you see things, you see the bigger picture. I think that
Yes.
helps a lot. And third would be that you get a lot of limelight. I think, especially in companies where you're working, and if you're doing what you're doing, data analytics and all of that, you get a lot of limelight because everyone is responsible. Like everyone is coming to you, irrespective.
Yeah.
Koi bhi ho, kuch bhi ho. So yeah, you're really like in charge, empowered. So
Okay. Three things a data analyst cannot live without.
data to begin with, we can't live without data. Domain
Bread and
knowledge.
butter.
No, domain knowledge, definitely you need to know that. And third would be projects. Like I don't think like I mean technically data analysts cannot live without a lot of things, but three would be these.
Three main things. Okay. Three personality traits that a data analyst must have. Impatience.
Curiosity, definitely. Patience. Patience is very important. That was actually my point. Patience is very important. You will work with dirty data a lot of times. वो clean नहीं होगा, and you will just hate it. And you need to have patience. As I said,
Frustrating.
curiosity, and finally problem solving. Oh, very important. Because again, look at the bigger picture always whenever you
Yeah.
get into a data field. आपको business की problem solve करनी है. You need to have problem solving.
Hmm. Yeah, done. And three best tools for data analysts.
I think I already said that. Na? Excel सीख लो.
Yeah.
If I'm going by my preference, so Power BI, I don't like Tableau that much. So Power BI and SQL.
SQL. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Free resources. I think you've already answered, but maybe you quickly want to just give three names.
Sure. So, Alex the Analyst, I love him. He's on YouTube. Please check him out. Guy in a Cube, again, I love him. Them actually, the two people. So, they're the great channel on YouTube for Power BI. And third would be Udemy, free resources. I
Okay.
think I think it's not exactly free, but my favorite would be Maven Analytics. They're like very cheap courses, like a 700, 800 or something, but really good. So Maven Analytics courses would be my third.
Okay. Fine. So now I'm going to move on to all the questions. Maybe we just have about 5-7 minutes to answer them. So I will also try to club them. See, the Google online challenge preparation, I think it is better if you Google it because that would be a very specific thing. Is an internship mandatory before applying for jobs?
Not an internship, but definitely some experience, right? Like you have certain virtual internships of
Yeah.
options like Forage internships. I mean, you can't exactly mention them in your resume, but have some experience, right? Like it's not important कि आप जाके एक internship ढूंढो, that doesn't really matter. But definitely, या तो आप कोई competition में part ले लो, Maven Analytics has competitions. I am not remembering names, but there are many competitions happening. या फिर आप खुद से कोई प्रोजेक्ट बना लो या फिर you go and do some guided projects but have some experience.
Right.
Internship is not that important.
Okay. So that would also answer the question of how to start a career as a fresher because you need to get some experience to be able to win the interview. So maybe that also answers your question, Rucha. Ayan Kita is bothered about whether she can start, if it's a she, start career in data analytics at the age of 40.
See, I think as I mentioned, anyone can. The only thing is that with there will be certain challenges and restrictions if you are not moving in the most traditional way, right? Like, let's say you have a lot
Yeah.
of experience, you have 10, 15 years of experience, then you want to move it, or you're not working and now you want to move in at the age of 40. Yes, you will have challenges. I won't lie, right?
Yeah.
It won't be as smooth as ki 6 mahine kara and ho gaya. But as
Yeah.
I mentioned, freelancing is a great option. You can always learn the skills on your own. You can practice, you can do projects, and you can move into freelancing. I've
Yeah.
spoken at length about freelancing on my page also. कि कैसे करना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए, but I think that's a great option. At the
Yeah.
same time, I'll just answer one more question here, which is not exactly related, but for anyone who has a lot of experience, let's say 10-15 साल आपको हो गए हैं, and then you want to move into data analytics, at that time, maybe consider clubbing it with masters. कि आपने,
Coming in with
either
masters. Okay.
Masters, yes. Because what happens is like many people come to me, and this is a very common question that I get, that I have an experience of 30 years, sorry, 10 years. I'm at 30, I have 15 years, 35. And what happens is that you can get into data. देखो problem नहीं है. The only thing is you may not get at the same level जिस पे आप अभी हो. Like let's say you're already earning 20-30 lakh rupees because you know you are
Yeah.
at a certain age. And आपको start करना है तो आप 10 lakhs पे तो आप you won't be ready to go, right?
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
have to maintain that level and you have to move from let's say to a managerial position to a higher position, तब that is a time when you can definitely you know consider कि आप कोई MBA कर लो with a specialization in analytics, business analytics कर लो. I think that really helps to give you that push कि हमने कुछ executive कर लिया, now I'm getting that push. So I think that is like my only suggestion. But if you're not working, you want to come back into this field, at that point what you can do is कि आप freelancing you can definitely consider. And then some companies actually
If
have
you're
a
not
very
really bothered about the salary being not as much as how a 15-year experienced person will be getting, then it is fine.
yeah, then it's fine. But yeah, I mean, how many people are actually ready to take a
Yeah,
50
yeah.
or 60% pay cut, right?
Yeah.
Just because to get started and knowing कि मेरे साथ वाले तो 20s में होंगे, you know, like in just that, like
हाँ, सही
that's
है.
the
हाँ.
only thing. But other than that, I think anyone can. आपको skills सीखनी है, आपको बस you know you just have to practice and you can easily get it.
Yeah. Okay, Samir and Ayushi, I will suggest that you put your questions when we upload this video because it's a little specific and it would take a lot of time for her to answer this. So maybe she can reply to
Yeah,
you
guys,
in the comments.
any
Yeah.
specific questions,
Yeah.
just I'll accept this, right? Like collaboration,
Yeah.
then we can always put the video. And
Yeah.
आप
Yeah.
डाल देना, and you know I've done this before also where I just have a post and people just keep
Yes,
asking
I've seen
questions.
that. Yeah,
And
she has a post.
yeah, so
Yeah,
if
yeah.
maybe we can do that. I don't have any problem.
Okay, Prasad, she has answered the question. Yes, SQL is very important. Vasu did post graduation in project management. Can I become data analyst? Civil engineering.
हाँ मैं खुद बनी थी.
हाँ.
मैं भी तो project management में ही थी. Yeah, it's possible. I think it's
Yeah.
also when you're coming from any specific field, the only thing that you have to think is that you can always upskill to be in your field, but through data analysis. Like I mentioned, right? आप HR में हो, आप PA में हो, you know, you're in sales, you're in finance, you're in anything. You already have that domain knowledge with you. You
Yes,
already have
exactly.
that
हाँ.
understanding. So उसमें
Yeah.
why are you thinking of changing your field? Think of upskilling yourself to you know
Upscaling your
think
field.
about
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. आप ये सोचो कि आप upskill कर रहे हो, you're learning data skills, and now you can easily get into you know kind of stay in your domain but get into data analytics work.
Yeah.
तो वैसे कर लो. Like for project management, you can see which आप किस domain में कर रहे थे. अगर आप if you've not started working, like for example, project management for me was in customer services domain. So I was handling projects for customer services department. And then when I moved into data analytics, I was again in you know customer services only. So my domain knowledge was very strong when I started with data
Yeah.
analytics. So similarly for you, and if that is not the case कि आप अभी fresher हो and you've not even I mean मैं तो बहुत generic कर देती हूँ ताकि a lot
Yeah.
of people can benefit from it. If you're not from let's say you're just starting out and you're new, then उस time पे you can always think about either starting your career
Yeah.
in something and then moving, or second just follow the generic path that I mentioned कि हाँ ठीक है अब हम skills learn करेंगे, अब हमें tools करेंगे, we'll do projects and we'll move. So you can do that.
So I think projects के ऊपर सब लोगों को ये they have a question that how do you get projects?
See, there are many ways of actually getting projects. A lot of it has already been shared on my profile. So, एक बार, you know, if you know, you are there on my profile, you can always go and you can find it. But a very simple ways is कि पहली चीज हो गई, you go and find a data set. ठीक है? A data set can be found on Kaggle. It can be found on data.gov. It can just be searched on the internet की data analytics project data sets. उससे भी मिल जाएगा, बस Google कर लो. पहला तो हो गया आप data set ढूंढ लो and अगर आपको लगता है that you're not prepared for just taking any data set and making a project on your own, if you think you're not ready कि अभी I cannot do that, then go on YouTube and search for guided projects. Like I mentioned, guided projects क्या होते हैं that they will actually have a 1-2 hour long video and they will start from the very beginning of taking a data set to creating a project, and आप उनको बस follow करते जाओ so that you get a better knowledge of how to do it. So the resources that I mentioned, like you know Alex the Analyst, Maven Analytics के होंगे, Dynacube, and all of these people and a lot more, they do that. They put up projects as well. They put up guided projects. मतलब,
Hmm.
and you can easily go and you can
Yeah.
follow them. मतलब
Yeah.
जितने भी resources I've mentioned till now, most of them have
Yeah.
guided projects as well, जिसमें they're making you go. I think chandu.org, that's a great website that has projects on Excel and all of
Okay.
that. So you can
Yes,
guided कर
yes.
लो.
I heard of them. Yeah.
You can go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, many people are asking, I'm in pharma industry, I'm in biotech industry. So, is it, good for me to be in data analysis, data science? I guess you've already answered this question that if you have domain knowledge, then that can become a boost in your career, right?
Yeah, also, the only thing that I'll add to that is कि yes, if you're already coming from an industry, आप उसी में ही upskill कर सकते हो. That's obviously
Ah.
there. But the second thing is कि if you're from a non-tech or a non-traditional background, yeah,
Hmm.
nothing related to tech or data analytics for that matter,
Yeah.
start with data analysis, start with data
Okay.
analytics first. Don't start with data science. क्योंकि data science में क्या होता है that you really need experience in data. Like data scientists, or I mean they do a lot of, I mean
Yeah.
usually people are in tech जो जाते हैं, if they're not in tech, then they already have certain experience in data analytics. So
Hmm.
never directly non-tech या non-traditional backgrounds, so don't make a jump to data science directly. Have
Yeah.
that, that journey of data analytics in between where you're working on all of these tools. That is
Hmm.
more important. मतलब
Yeah.
directly मत जाओ.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I have one last question from all these questions, and I think I would have answered most of them. I mean, I would have taken up most of them. So you would have answered. The main last question that everyone is asking is, what is the career progression? Like, how does one go about? What is the future for it, etc.
Sure. So see, when you're starting your career in data analytics specifically, like I mentioned, कि पहला path था वही लो. So there are two things that you can primarily do, right? One is कि you want to go deeper into tech, and you want to know more, you want to learn more, get more into machine learning, get more into data science. And so either you take that path, you're starting with data analysis, moving on, working a few years in this, either at the same level or at a senior level, whatever, and then you're moving on to a data science role. So that is one thing that you can do. The
Yeah.
second thing that you can do is that if you don't want, are not very interested a lot, you're not interested in tech. Like for me, for example, even though I'm an analytics right now, I'm at a managerial position, I don't want to move into data science because I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of that much tech is something I want to do. I want to be more towards business and more towards, business, working towards business problems. So if
Hmm.
that is the case, then you can always move towards, let's say maybe you can do a master's, you can do MBA, you can move towards that, or you can maybe move towards a consultancy role that, like I said, ki domain knowledge up gain karke, you can always get into, let's say for example, you can get into, finance data analytics, or you can get into a consultancy position over there. So there's like two paths, a business path and a data science
Hmm.
or a tech path. It just depends on what you really want to take depending on your interests. And uske baad to it's
Right.
the same, right? Like junior
Huh.
analyst, senior analyst, manager, uske baad kya hota hai? Chief data officer. So फिर all of that remains the same, but it's a great option to go
Okay.
in these two directions.
Fine. Bas, while we are signing off, any last minute advice that you have for women, for people who are moving from tech, non-tech to tech, non-tech to data analysis, any word of advice that you would like to give everyone?
Yeah, I think I've already said it,
Hmm.
but I'll just repeat that because I think it was really good. One, whenever you're starting out, please have patience. It is not something that you will be able to do in one
Good.
week, 1 month. It will take time. Jobs, whenever you're finding jobs, it will take time. Whenever you're upskilling yourself, it will take time.
Okay.
So have patience. It's very important. Always keep upskilling yourself. Never stop learning. Never keep, "Acha, I got a job, let's, okay, I'm done." Or okay, I got an internship, I'm done. No, never stop learning, never stop upskilling yourself.
Right.
And finally, mm, I think just have a, like, don't give up, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you're interested in this field, don't give up.
Hmm.
Things are difficult. I know, I speak to a lot of people that, it's slightly challenging to get into this field, but trust me, once you clear that entry barrier, things are really good. Like I
Yeah.
have seen that progress myself personally, and I come from the most non-tech kind of a background possible because I was not interested as well. So don't give up. Things
Yeah.
will work out eventually.
Okay, excellent session. Initial road bumps, but no problem. We took off well, and really nice speaking to you, Deeksha. Really very feel very great speaking to you today.
Same here. Thank you so much. It was lovely. But yes, everyone is still there.
Yes.
Please just mention your question below this live
Yeah.
chat that will be uploaded, and I will make sure that I answer you in the coming days.
Yeah. We're just going to be uploading this video in Instagram itself, so you will get a chance to put in your questions in the comments, and then Deeksha will answer them. Thanks a lot, and I'm really sorry if I missed out any questions. Please make sure you put it over there. I don't want them to go unanswered. And signing off, Sophia and Deeksha. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.